My name is Aishul D'Souza, and today we are here with Mr. Leonard Tan, who is the Country Manager, OutSystems Singapore. Mr. Leonard has over 8 years of experience in sales and business development, focusing mainly on the enterprise IT space. And as an advocate of relationship selling, he takes pride in ensuring that he tailors a solution that is relevant and crucial to his clients to help them achieve the business goals. And today in this session, he will be addressing topics concerning digital transformation in the ASEAN region. Welcome, Mr. Leonard Tan. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me, Aisha.
Thank you. So without any further ado, let's get started with the interview. How do you see the future of customer experience in the ASEAN region, Leonard?
You know, that's a great question, right? Customer experience has essentially become a top business priority as more of us interact and transact online, right? You know, the fact of the matter is that as COVID-19 has changed the world, organizations were forced to adapt and position digital platforms and channels at the forefront of their business. There's, however, one outlier to this typical trend, which looks into customer experience in its own. The concept of customer experience is not new. Many of us know what customer experience is. It's usually heavily spoken of. In fact, a survey result actually shown that 91% of the companies have customer experience as one of their primary goals of digital transformation. But the thing is that a lot of them are too slow to react to the change, or perhaps they are bogged down, right, by their current systems. For many, the events in just the past 18 months indeed has exposed a lot of gaps, right, just in a business capability standpoint relating to just customer engagement in its own. From what I've seen personally, companies of all sizes are investing heavily in tools, technologies, people, and processes to essentially differentiate. And not just differentiating, but it's to differentiate their offerings from many others. CX will very much be experiential, right, in the next many years to come. And a lot of organizations will take this to out each other and essentially better the expectations of consumers. From a technology standpoint, we actually do see that many organizations are streaming or moving towards AI as an investment. And in fact, Gartner has actually shared that just in the next couple of years, 47% of organizations are expected to be using chatbots to personalize and tailor offerings for FAQs, or even looking into virtual assistants, right? So the use of technology here will essentially game change the way that organizations are interacting with CX, right? But on the other perspective, as I've shared, in terms of CX being very much experiential, it also looks into being able to launch products quickly into the market, right? To test bed, to refine strategies around what is important to the customer. And that's really how I foresee CX will be. But I think if everything goes, the last important thing is the ability to create omni-channel experiences across the various devices, right? Today, just from working from home, we are having a mobile phone, we are having a desktop, perhaps you're having probably a chatbot elsewhere as well, right? Or a virtual assistant elsewhere. So, as time comes, a lot of these experiences will be very much digital customer experience. And the way that organizations will have to do this is to ensure that they personalize their offering rather than automate it, right? And looking at personalized offerings will always be important in ensuring that you are able to take data and be able to predict what is important to the customer, and that's really the fundamental kind of shift, right, as where I see CX will be moving in the current and of course in the future as well.
All right, Mr. Leonard, thank you so much for that wonderful response. And as you said, definitely personalization is the future of customer experience. So what are, in your opinion, the top challenges in customer experience that companies should be aware of now? And how can companies overcome those challenges?
Right. So there are many challenges, especially when you talk about customer experiences, right? And the whole idea just does not fall on technology alone, but it could be looking at people, processes, or even the way that we are doing things. And this really poses as some of the biggest challenges that CX professionals face. Is one made almost impossible for most organizations by disjointed technologies, right? To deliver customer experiences, digital experiences that support the customer journey. Some of the many challenges that I do see, right, or the more common ones that customers have perhaps been sharing with me is the first thing, which is data, right? And when you look at data, a lot of customers are faced with siloed customer data, right? Where you are actually receiving data from different fronts. Perhaps this could be coming from a mobile application, this could be coming from a call center, this could be coming from a web portal. But the problem that organizations face is they are not able to piece things together and being able to make a master data out of it, right? And this poses a lot of problems from a customer angle because, perhaps I've been speaking to a customer officer and I am essentially doing the same thing, right, on the mobile phone, and it's making me do the same thing for the same issue, right? And this creates a lot of friction in terms of how customers are reacting to the customers. So that is essentially the most important point that I do see, right, which is the ability to deliver consistent, high quality customer experience. Of course, the second other thing that I do see is about the ability to link customer experience to ROI. There are many organizations out there that perceive that CX initiatives take as long as 5 to 8 years to start delivering value, and because of the sheer amount of time it takes, it becomes a second priority, right? And a lot of things looks into business as usual, keeping the lights on. So the important portion of how CX professionals should be able to tackle this is to be able to deliver something real quickly in the shortest possible time, so as to show the impact of how this will potentially change how customers are reacting, and I think importantly the organization itself. I think that the last thing, if anything goes, is about senior management buy-in. We look into people, right? The idea that leadership sometimes, right, have little faith in customer first initiative, right? And they typically struggle to deliver value on many fronts. And where a lot of people talk about, let's bring in this technology, let's bring in that process, but it's typically held back by investments or agreements, right, from management. So therefore, I think the biggest challenges that people face, looks into many varied options, but it's about being able to raise awareness, essentially driving better experiences to our customers out there.
Definitely, Leonard. So moving on, how can companies in the ASEAN region develop an agile approach to CX, and how can OutSystems really help on that?
Great, thanks. So from a CX context, and of course in a particularly strange circumstances that we are all in ourselves, agility actually translates into being able to use digital channels to serve existing customers effectively, while ensuring that you're acquiring new customers without relying on physical spaces, or call centers that are typically understaffed or overworked, right? So I think one biggest way of how agility can be seen is where the customers themselves can be ordering something at their own convenience, whether is it through a web, whether is it through an application, whether even through a smart speaker or call center. It's all within that realm of convenience, right? So what we are trying to do is that we are essentially trying to deliver a one user experience, or an omni-channel kind of experience where it's the same whether are you using on your web, your mobile, whichever front that you're using, it's a seamless experience through and through, right? So so at the end of the day, what we are actually helping organizations is providing them a modern kind of application development tool that looks into visual development, right? So that they can essentially build applications fast, right, and for the future. And for many people that usually ask me, what does building applications fast, right, and for the future mean, right? Which is essentially where you're building applications fast, right? We talk about being able to launch minimum viable products. We talk about being able to, link customer experience with ROI. It's about ensuring that you are able to bring a working prototype or a working application to the eyes of the consumers or stakeholders at the fastest possible time, right? Whether this could be taking you 2 weeks, whether this could be taking you 4 months, it's about being able to cut down that development cycle. Right, in our systems, we typically share that you're able to essentially bring down the development time 50 to 70% faster, right? And that in its own, it's an ROI, right? Where you can actually deliver that experience. Second of all, when you look at building applications right, it's about creating them in a way that functions well, especially for the end user, right? And when you talk about at the end of the day, right, where something has to be changed, right? You shouldn't be taking, longer than what you take to build the application. Changes should be almost immediate to the eyes of the users, and you can't be waiting for a time where, half of your user population are giving a negative feedback, and then that's where the change happens, right? It really leaves a scar in the users themselves. So at the heart of the OutSystems platform, we actually have a lot of tools that are integrated and automated services that ensure that when you build applications, you have ready components. You do not have to worry about security of your customer data, and all that, ensuring that you keep a light footprint, right, in your infrastructure. So that is all that looks into the realm of building applications fast. Building applications right. The last thing you talk about is building applications for the future. It really looks into the scalability of things. Perhaps today you are looking at delivering just a mobile application, but in the future, perhaps you may be looking at integration with beacons, integration with Internet of Things, right? And the ability for you to be able to reuse components, be able to piece everything together quickly and efficiently becomes a very important thing. I think the last important portion to talk about in terms of future-proofing your technology is also ensuring that there is automation and enhancing the entire application lifecycle, and that's exactly how OutSystems have been enabling both the IT and the business, in marrying them to deliver a great customer experience, right? So these are some of the many things that we do here, just to ensure that some of these outcomes are met, and you are able to quantify, right, what is important to you and your business and your customers.
That was an interesting response, Mr. Leonard. I have one final question for you. How has OutSystems helped enterprises scale their digital transformation over the past 18 months during the pandemic? And how have they benefited from this?
Right. So while COVID-19 has caused many disruptions to businesses across the globe, right? It has also presented a lot of opportunities for people or organizations to change the way that they think and perhaps turn it into an opportunity. The interesting bit is what we have seen in the past 18 months in terms of the way that we have changed would probably be more than what we would see in the last 6 years, right? And it's just show that in this pandemic or endemic, while some will say, many people have shifted their business models to be moving online. Businesses have been using work from home as the default, and therefore the ability to pivot, right, as of where you are to your desired state becomes very important, right? And that really looks into the concept of speed of change. According to one of OutSystems' recent research report, which is the speed of change, how fast are you? The concept that organizations are able to facilitate faster innovation cycles and enable high level of organization agility, it's really showing out, right? Especially in the COVID situation. to kind of give you a little bit of example of how we have also helped organizations transform, we actually worked with a local healthcare organization in Singapore that came to us and said, look, we are looking to create a visitor staff application that allows our visitors to track their temperature, and of course a visitor registration system, right? Having to be an existing OutSystems customer, we were able to offer them a COVID response kind of a model that allowed them to build the application as quickly as 2 to 4 weeks, right? And then they were able to, first of all, be able to meet the intent of what our government is actually moving towards, at the same time ensuring that the health and safety of the public is actually being met, right? So that is a very good example of being able to respond quickly, right, to the market changes, and ensuring that you make your changes based on how the reaction would be, right? Second of all is that when you look outside globally, right, perhaps this organization might be very known to all, stem cell, right? So this is a prime example of how organizations and leaders look like in action when we're delivering extraordinary things with speed, even during the crisis. What they have done is that also looking at COVID-19, they were able to swiftly release a staff safety application in just 36 hours after receiving the request. As crazy as it sounds, right? They were able to be able to just cater for that change immediately. And this application actually caters across 1,500 employees, where it allows them to receive daily updates, and give them support in terms of the alerts, equipment loans, and dashboards for managers and the safety team itself. So that really looks into how OutSystems, not just as the product, offering to customers, but really changing the way that customers are delivering applications, right, culturally and process-wise. So that's really something that I feel really proud, even as an OutSystems employee, that we are essentially changing the lives of how people are interacting today, right, or even delivering applications.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Leonard. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this interesting interview session with Mr. Leonard Tan. And I would really like to thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure hosting you today, and we really loved your energy and enthusiasm. Also, be sure to catch OutSystems at the World CX Summit FSI ASEAN, taking place on 21st October 2021. You can visit our website, tresconglobal.com/conferences/CX/Asia and register for free. Thank you so much.